You're just joining us, it's still Good Morning Anambra, and we want to look at our major theme for today, which is youth and teaching career. Over time, especially among the youths, it seems the intention or the drive to move into the teaching career dwindles on a daily basis. Why? That's what we want to find out. And maybe if there are remedies, if there are ways to encourage them to begin to look at this aspect of career development, that we can do that on the show. So join us this morning as we look at youth and teaching career. And I have with me this morning two professors to look at this topic. Professor Biajolo Obikeze. He is Professor of Public Administration at Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, Ibadan. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Anambra.
And I also have with me Professor Ngozi Chumude. She is a professor of English language and lecturer at Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University. Prof, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Hello, viewer.
Okay, both of you are from the core, constituency of this topic. And let's begin to ask, Prof, why? Why does it seem as if young people or the youth feel teaching is not for them?
I believe it has a simple answer. Our society has gone materialistic, such that nobody will want to be called a teacher. And the way the society is also looking down at teachers. I remember in the olden days when my parents were teachers, there was this slogan, no one being in any way. So nobody wants to receive his wages in heaven. We all want our wages here. So I believe it's just the way the society look at teaching profession. Teachers are the most humble of beings, and the most lowly rated, the most lowly paid, yet they are the most important in the society.
At what level? Because I feel, apart from, I don't know, I don't have the pure statistics now, but are teachers still the most lowly paid?
No, definitely, yes. The remuneration is not commensurate to the efforts we put in.
All right. Okay. Let me come to Professor Obikeze. The issue of materialism, or how the society look at the teaching profession, seems to be, justified. Looking at that, even the number of teachers we even produce in this present level or mindset still don't get jobs. And you know that in recent times there's been a serious emphasis on entrepreneurship. People, you're encouraged to start your business and leave white-collar jobs. And you know teaching is part of that white-collar job. Do you think it's justified, looking at the economy or looking at the number of unemployment rates we are having in our society now?
Justified? I don't understand the question.
The justification based on that people don't feel there is no, the remuneration now is not as what it should be in teaching profession. And even those people that read teaching or were trained as teachers, don't even get employed.
Okay.
So you see that young people, there is nothing to encourage them to seek a career in that aspect. So should that reduction in young people pursuing teaching careers be justified?
Well, it's not only in teaching career that the youth are jobless.
Okay.
Almost every profession now is almost saturated, except maybe one or two. The professional courses, yes, medicine, law, engineering, and what have you, these ones can practice on their own. But when you talk of other disciplines, they're all saturated. So it's not only the teaching career that is saturated, and people will now get disillusioned joining the teaching career. So there are other issues that make the youth not to join the teaching career.
Okay.
Not necessarily payment. She has started with some of them.
Okay.
One is that in those days, during the colonial period, the teacher was seen as the best in the society. Odozi Obodo. In fact, whenever anything happened in those days, you called the teacher to come and preside, to come and inform, to come and educate the people, and to come and give the way, give the direction on how things would go. That was the position of teacher in those days. But these days, teachers are even, they are nowhere. They are not even accorded that respect in their own families because their pockets are dry, because they don't build mansions, because they don't go in big cars, because they don't. The values have so much changed that they are nowhere very close to what is happening in society. So why should somebody now choose such a job when you know you are already going to meet poverty as part of what you have chosen to be? That is the issue.
All right. Still on this issue of change of perception, is it only about, I don't know how to put this, is it a change of that we feel that this job is no longer relevant, that there was a reduction in welfare, or that the reduction in welfare precipitated the also reduction in the mindset we have about this? How did that mindset, how did that perception change over time, over the years? You just related how it was in the past. How did it change?
Just like I said, it's not peculiar to teaching profession.
Okay.
But the issue of teaching changed after the Civil War. Some of us who were old enough in the Civil War, before and after the Civil War, would recognize that before then, the teachers were very close to what was happening. Really, after the war, the value system changed. And then the economy started to dwindle. The values of money given to the teaching profession and even generally public servants dropped. And if you're having money and you cannot buy anything with it, and the money is so meager to fetch you anything, why should you remain in that kind of job? So it started with the government. The government do not take teaching seriously. They don't have classrooms. They don't have good offices. They don't have nothing to show for it. Students, you teach them, after 2 years, they come in with a better kind of life. They come into your class, the classrooms where your students are. They don't have seats. The teacher doesn't have seats. No, don't talk of air condition. You don't talk of refrigerator. Nothing gives you that air of importance, even when you did the same level of certification with any other person. So that is part of the thing. So it's part of societal changes that have brought us to this point.
Okay, there's no way you talk about changing the mindsets of the youth in pursuing careers in teaching without addressing what has happened in the education sector. He started raising the issues that changed after the war. Why? Why does it seem the government decided, or successive governments decided that we shouldn't pay much attention to education again? Truly, the education sector shouldn't be profit-oriented. So it's not as if we will depend on them to generate the funds that they will be paid with. So why that change? Yes.
You really want me to answer that honestly? Well, I have to. Education equips a man with that intellectual ability to fight for his rights, to know his rights, and to know the meaning, the essence of life. Now, somehow, in some political sectors, despotism fosters in the face of ignorance. So I believe somehow, at certain levels, some people may not want to put much in education so as to raise people who will question the status quo. I think that is the answer. You want me to go deeper?
Okay.
Did I answer?
now let's begin to look at the society and the perception. the teaching profession, over the years, like you said, the welfare of teachers have not been addressed.
Their take-home salary cannot take them home.
And like he pointed out, apart from the salary, the environment where they
Environment
teach,
is deplorable.
there are offices you enter in some schools like this, and you pity the people that live there to do productive work. And most times we say, yes, the education sector or the teachers should be blamed for whatever. But there are environments where you'll be, and truly, you won't be productive.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do we begin to address some of these issues?
Like the village headmaster now. You will be there static. You train out people, they will go to the township, make money, come back. They will still see you in that cubicle. Yes, as a village headmaster.
You are asking how we get out of...
Yes.
In education circle, a lot of issues are involved. A lot of persons are involved. The family. These are the family.
Okay.
The individual students or pupils. The government. The mass media. The religious. The entire society. We all make up what it takes to be educated and to be in the education circle. So the government cannot carry it alone. And that's part of the problem. The government feels that there are so many people they have to pay as teachers. But we also have so many children to teach as pupils and students. You know, overseas, there's a limited number of carriage in each classroom.
Yeah.
In some cases, you don't take up more than 25 persons in a class, so that you'll be able to identify each student, their needs, their problems, their prospects, and what it will take a child to grow as a responsible member of the society. But in our own case, you see a teacher in primary school, in secondary school, having roll call of about 50%, 55, close to 60 in a class. And you have them A, B, C, D, E, F, G, S in some big schools. I hope you are following my point. Then how would one teacher now be able to identify and take care of individual needs of such a large class? So a lot of issues. Not to talk of when you get to university, some of them will be standing at the window, some will be jumping from anywhere. In a class, maybe for people who are teaching English, for example, there are more than 200 in a class. No microphone, no public address system, nothing. And so how would that person perform? So a lot of things have changed. And if we have to correct it, everybody must join hands. The affluent members of the society must have to come in, because I won't advocate that you leave it alone for the government.
Has the private sector actually fared well when it comes to the welfare of teachers? Let me come to you. We have situations where students pay close to millions of naira, hundreds of thousands as school fees in private schools and in some mission schools. But you still find out that even the welfare of the teachers, I can remember there was a case, a school where they pay close to 400,000 naira a term. Yes, some of this money are into running costs, but the teachers in that school are not paid up to 20,000 naira per month. So even the private sector or the affluent individuals, have they actually done enough in this aspect?
Well, capitalism affects education too. Remember, I told you before that despotism affects education, because the despot will not want to train intelligent people who will question him. Now, capitalism, in relation to the private institutions, they are there to make money and to subjugate whoever is coming up. The owner of the private university may not want to pay the lecturers the amount of money that will make them float their own universities and subdue his own. And in fact, capitalism is bad.
No, she has said it, but another angle to it is that in our society, everybody feels he can teach.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And so that aspect of it makes it that if you pay 20,000 and I feel it's too small. Somebody will come and then take even 10,000. But that is true.
Exactly, which is true.
So how would you now blame the person who wants to make gain? Any person in private business, the ultimate is to make as much gain as possible. Establish more schools. No matter whatever you churn into the society, it doesn't concern the owner of the schools. So that's the issue. Teaching profession, especially in the third world, has become all commerce job, from primary to secondary to university. Many of us don't have the basic teaching certification that we are qualified one to teach. And then because we need people to be teaching, any person feels he can teach. No training, no professionalism, nothing is accorded. And so the businessman who establishes, it's now the thing. Establish more schools, even the religious institutions establish, and then with the money paid by their members of the church, yet the students of the poor or the children of the poor cannot patronize such schools. So
all right.
That's part of the problem.
All right. We'll begin to look at if there are other proactive ways to address the issue of welfare of teachers, especially taking it out from the hands of government more. And then some of the issues of what the qualifications and regulations we're going to ensure to make sure that teaching profession or the school education sector is not meant or is not an all-comers affair when we come back from this break. We're still looking at youth and teaching career and how to encourage our young people into the teaching profession. Stay with us. We want to go to the streets and bring you what people have to say about this topic.
Should be taken much more seriously so that it will attract those young ones. They will look upon teaching as a very viable profession.
You know, we had an old adage that says that a teacher's reward is in heaven. And prior to this time, people didn't have that encouragement to go into teaching because it looks like they don't have what other professions do have as a movement. But I believe that with the present government's determination to enhance the teaching career by prompt payment of salaries, promotions on teachers, trying to improve their lifestyle. I believe that, especially in Anambra State, I know that salaries are paid regularly and teachers are encouraged to, have access to some forms of maybe loans from the banks because they have constant salaries. Now that we have the depression in the economy, I believe that the young people will see the teaching profession as a way out, to maybe go into teaching, and from there, I believe that all these unemployments will be eradicated.
We will look at this life, that it has a lot. That what goes around comes around. Money is not everything in this life. But when you have passion for your profession, especially teaching, you will do it with joy. And when you look at the whole world, the entire world, you can't talk about a doctor. For you to be a doctor, you can't be a doctor without going through a teacher. So teaching is a noble profession.
Anambra State, as you can see, the government is doing a lot of things, to improve the teaching environment. So for youth, I think that the best way to encourage them is to improve on the already existing structures. Make the teaching environment to be more attractive, more conducive for teaching, and improve on their salaries. I think that's the best way.
Increment of salary from the present one that are paying now, housing scheme and transportation. I believe with housing scheme, if the youth are given such as an incentive, even if it's a BQ, that is, or a self-con, it will enhance and wake them up to embrace such.
Welcome back to the live studios of Anambra Broadcasting Service, and we're looking at youth and teaching career. I want to look at how we're going to ensure that the welfare of teachers are improved upon. And I have Professors Obiajulo Bikeze and Ngozi Chumu. They're with me in the studio looking at this issue. And let me now come to you. Looking at the teaching profession and what we do presently, how do we improve on the welfare? Should we do a kind of trust fund or crowdfunding to pay teachers to ensure that they live a better life? So that teachers also will not be tempted to come and teach 30 minutes and go and do another business just to live a better life.
The educational sector is the life wire of every society. Therefore, education is the number one constituency of every government. Education is solely the prerogative of the government. Yes. And any society that neglects the educational sector is heading for a catastrophe. Because it is here that we mold the future. We bring up children, both in ethics and all otherwise. In fact, there is no gainsaying about it. It is all about job fulfillment. Let the teacher have a sense of job fulfillment, job satisfaction. It is still the matter of remunerations. Provide for the teacher, just as you provide for the chief judge.
So I want to add to what she has just said. When we were growing up, where I did my primary school, most of the teachers were living on the compound.
The teachers' quarters.
They had quarters,
Yes.
befitting of highly placed individuals in society. So if they had about 10 or 15 teachers, almost 90% were living within the quarters. Where I did my secondary school also, they lived in flats. These were places we saw television for the first time. Those of us who moved from the villages to our schools in secondary school. So we were having that generator. The school had generator, and they had televisions in their houses. Very comfortable in those days, in the 70s. Not to talk of University of Nigeria, where I did my first and then other degrees. They had nothing in contact with it in Sokata. Everybody was within the campus. Very little things they had to. The church was there, the quarters were there, everything. 24-hour light and what have you. And so, in such a circumstance, how would you feel that you are not part of a society, or you are not even better than most of your equals? But these days, where do they live? You pay them. We are not talking of 30,000. They pay fees because they want their own children to go to where they become doctors at the end of the day, lawyers at the end. And nobody will want his child to succeed him as a teacher. So from there they pay for the special schools they will attend, transport themselves, pay for medical services. I mean, the government should come in.
Generate their own light.
Exactly.
Because
get fuel for their own light. Otherwise, so many of them can never afford it. Those who teach in primary, secondary schools. Some of us may be able to do that, but not every day. When you now buy fuel, 1,005 every day multiplied by a number of 30 days.
Pay the landlord.
Okay.
And if you look at what house rents are reading now, you know that sometimes even your salary, your 3-month salary cannot even pay your rent.
In those days, teachers were better than most priests. But these days, the priests, they live in the best houses, best cars, best everything. So how do you now encourage your child? Who will do that? But we are saying that the government should come in. The students themselves should also be part of it, because when you graduate, you remember your alma mater. You go back and invest in that place. Just like some of us who are old boys in our schools.
Now,
doing something.
I just want us to address this one before we go. We've always said the government should come in. The government should come in. And tomorrow we'll still say the government should come in. What's the best way for the government to come in? And if the person that is holding in the education sector at whatsoever level, that is that should be responsible for implementing that government policy in the education sector is not doing what he should do. What should be done to ensure that we leave the level of rot we have in the education sector generally to a better system where people will be encouraged to see teaching as a career?
Well, the issue you are just pulling us to the issue of corruption in society.
Okay.
Government may be doing its best, but the best is not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody will say, if you can spell your name, you thank your teacher.
Yes.
But these things are not, we are not taking care of some of these things. So one is to prioritize. There should be priority. And the education should be, at any level, should be given priority. You prioritize our needs and give at least, I think it's, what's the name, made it that at least 25% of budget in every year should be devoted for education.
Allocated to education.
That's the starting point. And then when you now make such budget, you should implement it. You should now enforce. You should monitor. You should supervise as somebody who is in charge. And then whether it's the commissioner, the permanent secretary, people under them, you monitor them and make sure they are doing their job.
Okay.
But we now still take education, the colonial method where you now in school inspection. These days, we should know that these teachers are human beings. And they have their own psychology and what idiosyncrasies to maintain.
Okay, so how do we, in your own, is there something you can add that must be done to address some of these issues we've raised this morning to encourage more youth to see teaching as a career?
It's just a change of the priorities, as Prof said. Let teachers be regarded as strong stakeholders. Let their needs be met. Let there be a special aspect of the budget allocated to the welfare of teachers. Because when your take-home salary cannot take you home, you cannot be effective. That is just the truth. So.
All right, thank you, Professor Ngozi Chumude. Professor Ngozi Chumude is Professor of English and lecturer at Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, Igbariam, and also Professor Obiajulu Obikeze, Professor of Public Administration and lecturer at Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, Igbariam also. This morning we are looking at youth and teaching career, and they've made their advocacy on what we must do to ensure that we have a better society, a better education sector, a sector that deals with the needs of people who are actually the field marshals in that. And they've asked for prioritizing education to become one of the first in whatever in government's agenda, so that we have a better society, a better future, and a society that we all can call our own. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us, and lady.
Thank you very much.
All right. That's how far we'll run on Good Morning Anambra this morning. I am David Okwase. Thank you for joining us.